Sign this, or we're taking your house. I looked down at the paper. $23,000. Due in 14 days. For a mailbox I installed myself that cost me $49. The HOA president, this woman I'd smiled at in the grocery store, who'd waved to every morning, was now standing in my living room with 2 lawyers, telling me that if I didn't pay, they'd foreclose on my cabin. The place I'd saved for a decade to buy. I laughed. I actually laughed. Because this had to be a joke, right? Her face didn't move. Mr. Peterson, this isn't funny. You have 2 weeks, or we file the lien. That's when I noticed something. Her hand was shaking, just slightly. Like she was, nervous. And that tiny detail, that shake in her hand, it saved everything, because I realized right then she wasn't powerful. She was terrified, and if she was scared, that meant she was hiding something big. What I found in the next 72 hours didn't just expose her. It burned her entire empire to the ground. But it also cost me something I never thought I'd lose. Let me take you back to where this nightmare actually started. 80 months ago, I drove up a winding mountain road, turned the corner, and saw it my dream cabin. Cedar logs, massive windows, surrounded by pine trees so thick you couldn't see your neighbors. The realtor called it rustic charm. I called it perfect asterisk. After 10 years of working in corporate hell, 80-hour weeks, sleeping under my desk, I'd finally scraped together enough for a down payment. This place was my escape, my reward, my everything asterisk. The HOA seemed totally normal at first. There was a welcome meeting in the community center, about 20 residents, mostly retirees and weekend people like me. The president, Margaret Chun, seemed fine, professional. Mid-60s, always dressed business casual, the kind of person who brought printed agendas to casual meetings. She welcomed me personally. We run a tight ship here, but it's all to protect your investment. Property values stay high when we maintain standards. Made sense to me. The monthly dues were $175. Roads, snow removal, lake maintenance, fair deal. I signed the papers without reading every detail. First mistake. Everything was peaceful for 9 months. I'd go up on weekends, chop wood, sit on the porch with my dog, Max. It was exactly what I needed. I even started making friends. There was Bill, the retired firefighter next door, and Sarah, a teacher who had the cabin down the hill. Life was good asterisk. Then, one Saturday morning in March, I walked outside and noticed my mailbox was leaning. Not just a little, 45-degree angle. The post had rotted through from all the snow and ice. Mail was literally falling into the mud. So I did what any normal human would do. I went to Home Depot, bought a sturdy black metal mailbox and a pressure-treated post, and spent Sunday afternoon installing it. Dug a proper hole, mixed concrete, made it solid. I was actually proud of how professional it looked. Monday morning, I got a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, we need to talk about your mailbox. Margaret asterisk, I texted back. Asterisk, what about it? Old one was falling apart. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then my phone rang. Mr. Peterson, you've violated Section 9.2 of the HOA covenants. All exterior modifications require written approval, asterisk, before asterisk installation. I could hear the ice in her voice. Margaret, it's just a mailbox. The old one was literally broken. Rules exist for everyone. I'm issuing a $750 fine. It'll be in the mail tomorrow, $750 for a mailbox. You should have read your documents more carefully. She hung up. I stood there, staring at my phone like it had just slapped me. But here's the thing. I'm not a fighter. I don't like conflict. So I paid the fine. It hurt, but I figured it was easier than arguing. I had no idea. I'd just painted a target on my back. 3 weeks later, I got a FedEx envelope. Inside was a letter on official HOA letterhead. Asterisk notice of covenant violation, mandatory remediation, asterisk my mailbox, according to this letter, was still non-compliant because it wasn't installed by an HOA authorized contractor. I had 30 days to remove it and have it replaced professionally. The cost. Asterisk $6,800 for a mailbox. I read it 3 times. Then I called Margaret. This is insane. You already fined me $750. Now you want $6,800 more. The fine was for a proceeding without approval. This is for proper installation. I can install a mailbox. I did install it. It's literally bolted into concrete. Our contractor uses specialized materials and techniques that ensure longevity and aesthetic consistency. No crowds. Mr. Peterson, you have 30 days. After that, we add $200 per day in late fees. And after 60 days, we file a lien. Have a good day. Click. My heart was pounding. This couldn't be legal. I drove to Bill's house. He'd been in the HOA for 8 years. Maybe he'd dealt with something similar. When I told him what happened, his face went pale. You too, A whispered. Turns out, Bill had gone through the exact same thing 2 years earlier. They'd forced him to pay $4,200 to replace a porch railing. Sarah, the teacher, they made her pay $5,900 for a non-compliant garden shed even though the previous owner had installed it a decade earlier. Why didn't anyone fight this? I asked. Bill shook his head. People tried. The HOA has expensive lawyers. It's cheaper to pay than to fight. Most people just pay and stay quiet. This is literally extortion. Yeah, Bill said. But what are you gonna do? I'll tell you what I did. I got asterisk. Angry asterisk. I started digging late nights on my laptop, pulling public records, HOA meeting minutes, contractor licenses, and after about 2 weeks, I found it. The HOA authorized contractor, a company called Summit Property Solutions, owned by a man named David Chun. Margaret's asterisk. Husband. Every single mandatory installation over the past 6 years had gone through his company. I pulled the numbers over the last 4 years. Residents had paid his company nearly asterisk $890,000. Asterisk for compliance work. They'd built a system. Margaret would write violations. David would send inflated quotes. Residents would pay or lose their homes. It was asterisk, brilliant asterisk, and completely illegal. I took everything I found to a lawyer. He looked it over and whistled. This is fraud. Clear as day. But taking down an HOA president, that's going to cost you $15,000 minimum in legal fees, maybe more. I didn't have $15,000. I just bought the cabin. My savings were gone. So I tried something desperate. I printed out all my evidence, put it in a folder, and showed up at Margaret's house. She answered the door in yoga pants and a fleece. For the first time, she looked... ... Human. Mr. Peterson. This is inappropriate. I know what you're doing, I said. I held up the folder. Summit Property Solutions. Your husband. 6 years of fraud. I have all of it. Her face didn't change. but a Honda one holding the doorframe started trembling. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then let me walk away. Cancel the fee. Let me keep my mailbox, and I'll forget I ever saw this. She stared at me for a long time. Then she smiled. Not a friendly smile. A asterisk. Dangerous asterisk one. You just made a big mistake. She closed the door. The next morning, I woke up to my dog barking like crazy. I looked outside. Margaret was standing in my driveway with a sheriff's deputy and 2 men in suits, and they were holding an eviction notice. I walked outside in my pajamas, heart hammering. What is this? The deputy stepped forward. $23. The fee was $6,800. Margaret stepped forward, holding a clipboard. Late fees, legal fees, and expedited processing. It's all outlined in the covenant. She handed me the paperwork. I scanned it. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely read. They'd backdated violations. Claimed I'd missed HOA meetings. I hadn't added administrative costs for things I'd never heard of. It was all fake. But it was asterisk, official asterisk. You can't do this, I said. We already did. Margaret sighed. The deputy looked uncomfortable. Sir, I'm just serving papers. If you want to dispute this, you'll need to appear at the hearing. They left. I stood there in my driveway, holding documents that could take my house, feeling more powerless than I'd ever felt in my life. But then I remembered something Bill had said. Asterisk people tried to fight, but they fought alone. Asterisk. I pulled out my phone and started texting. Bill, Sarah, every neighbor I had, a number 4. Asterisk emergency meeting. My place. Tonight. I have proof. Asterisk 13 people showed up. I laid everything out on my kitchen table. The contractor connection, the fake violations, the financial records. She's done this to all of us, I said. But if we fight together, if we all file complaints at once, Chico, and silence all of us. Bill nodded slowly. I'm in. One by one, they agreed. The next day, all 13 of us walked into the county clerk's office and filed formal complaints. We also sent copies to the state attorney general, the local news, and a consumer protection nonprofit. Margaret tried to fight back. She sent cease and desist letters, threatened countersuits, even tried to claim asterisk, we asterisk, were harassing asterisk, her asterisk, but it was too late. The local news picked up the story, then a regional paper. Suddenly, reporters were calling Margaret for comment. The HOA-est lawyers went silent. David's contracting license got suspended pending investigation. 2 months later, the state attorney general announced charges. Fraud, embezzlement, racketeering. Margaret and David both pled guilty. They lost everything, their business, their savings, their reputation. The HOA was dissolved and reformed under new leadership. Every bogus fee was refunded. We asterisk. 1 asterisk. But here's the part nobody tells you about winning. I couldn't stay. Every time I drove up that mountain road, I felt sick. The cabin didn't feel like peace anymore. It felt like a battlefield. I'd look at that mailbox, the one that started everything, and feel my chest tighten. I tried to push through it. Told myself it would fade. It didn't. So for months after the case closed, I listed the cabin for sale. It sold in 3 weeks. I used the money to buy a small house 2 states away. No HOA. No rules. No Margaret. And you know what? I finally felt like I could breathe again. Here, as the thing they do. I'm going to tell you about fighting back. Sometimes you win the battle and still lose the war with yourself. I don't regret exposing Margaret. She deserved everything she got. But I also don't regret walking away from that cabin. Because sometimes, the place you fought so hard for becomes the thing that haunts you. And that's okay. Winning doesn't always mean staying. Sometimes it means knowing when to let go. If you've ever felt trapped, bullied, or powerless, remember this. You're stronger than you think, even if your strength looks like walking away. Now, if this story grabbed you, if You felt every twist, and could you and look or smash that subscribe button? Because I've got more insane real-life stories dropping every single week. Drop a comment if you've ever dealt with HOA insanity. I want to hear your war stories. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. See you in the next one.